I am so glad to be here among my fellow writers and among people who like writers. I want to tonight confide in you the ways I have of finding the story. Let me start with the big fire in the Oakland and Berkeley Hills in 1991. I was coming home, driving out of the Central Valley, out of the San Joaquin Valley, where we had just had funeral ceremonies for my father. And I turned on the radio in the car, and I heard that the hills around Berkeley and Oakland were on fire. And so I drove as quickly as I could because I've got to save the manuscript. And so I got near our neighborhood, but the police and the firemen had blocked off the streets, and I got so confused, and it took me a while before I could wind around to our neighborhood. And then I parked, and I could only find a no parking red zone, but I thought, okay, I'll just park there. And then I walked into the hills, and I got around the police, and I got around the firefighters, and then I went over and under the fallen wires, hoping that they were not alive, and I walked and got lost, and I went back, and I continued walking, and then after, I couldn't recognize anything. There were no landmarks. Everything was so changed and so burned, and but then I did come to this one place, and that I've been walking long enough, and I could tell from the contours maybe of the hills. I saw a flagpole. I started triangulating, and then I thought, I think I've arrived at my house where it used to be, and it's gone, and it's all gone. And the book is gone. The book I was working on. And no sooner had I thought that, then suddenly I felt something, that the whole air, all of existence was filled with something. It was something that made me feel very alive and joyful, and I thought, no, this is always there. What is something I feel is always there, but I could never feel it before because I wasn't paying attention, and I had too many things, but now all my things are burned and gone. I could feel this something, and then of course, being a writer, I say, name it. What is this that I feel? And so I named it Idea. This is Idea. And no sooner had I thought that, but a man with red hair on a red bicycle came riding up, and he said, "Would you like a ride?" And so I got on his bicycle, on the handlebars, and we drove through the fire, and I am going to read to you from the 5th book of Peace my thoughts as I was riding with this red-haired man on his red bicycle. on the move, the bicycle moving, the wind and the scene moving. Is idea still here? I'd forgotten to keep noticing idea. Yes, it's here. I can feel it, a solidity at the center. But would it exist if I were killed? What if idea were just my life, me feeling my life? Be extra careful of my life. Can ideas really exist as cloud souls hovering, waiting to be breathed in? I'm the only one who knows about and works on the book of peace. Its idea depends on me, small, slow, forgetful. Things gone, idea remains. Old Father William said, no ideas but in things. I'm saying, no things but in ideas. The bicycle wheels went round and round, birds were circling, and my thoughts were going around. No things but in ideas. No ideas but in things. Things. Red wheelbarrows, white chickens, rainwater, all gone. Idea remains. Ideas cause things. I am alive because of idea. A book exists before its words. Remember, and actuality surrounds and permeates words and things and exists in their absence. Needing instruction, a law of poetry on how to bring into being word and world. One of my hands let go of the handlebar and reached for my collected Williams, which had been on the right side of the middle shelf of poetry. I keep making that reaching gesture toward books that aren't there anymore. And another of my post-fire symptoms is that I can't read. Very high up in the good air, birds that seemed entirely black or blackened were wheeling in tight circles and wide circles, clockwise and counterclockwise. The birds were of various sizes and species: turkey buzzard, hawk, crow, pigeon. The straight flying birds, goose, mallard, are behaving weirdly, whirling. Aristophanes' whirl, whirl is king. What happened to the birds at Lake Temescal, the great blue heron that stood hunch-shouldered on low branches, the red-faced goose duck, Big Red, who had lived under the willow tree, the cormorants and the wood duck coots? I pictured mass fire sloshing up and down the basin and the lake boiling. We rode through a black and white Guernica of trees, black skeletons, negatives of trees, caught in poses of agony, killed and reaching for air. Unable to run, they clawed upward, begging, praying. They died in fear. The fire had filled all this space. It had covered the trees. It was now racing wherever the sirens were screaming. Here I come, Samantha Bhadra, bodhisattva of contemplated action, charging on her flying elephant, bicycling out of the smoke, out of dreams and thoughts into action. Right action is effortless. See, no pedaling. You get help. Samantabhadra crosses the wide boundary from imagination to deeds. So, do you know how to turn on this light here? Does anybody? This light has gone off. Okay. So after the fire, after the fire, I tried to figure out how to create after destruction. And an idea came to me that I mustn't do this writing alone anymore. I had a writing attic up in the house that burned, and it was just my size. I was the only person who could fit in it, and I did my writing alone, and so I took it as a sign that my writing attic was burned. So I thought, wait, well, maybe what I need is a writing community. I need to be with other writers, and we could work together in a workshop, and we'll listen to one another and draw the stories out of one another. So I called for, and people came. I called veterans of all wars to come write with me, and so people came from wars as far back as the Spanish Civil War, right up to the present. And so I'm going to read to you a scene from one of our writing workshops. And in this writing workshop, we invited writers from North Vietnam. So the enemy were with us. Most of the writing veterans were Vietnam vets. And here we are with Vietnam vets from the other side. And so I'm just going to read to you a little, just part of one of the discussions that we had. I said, I want to talk about the Ho Chi Minh Trail, Song Mai. Today, for the first time in my life, I am believing that there was and there is a Ho Chi Minh Trail. Ho Chi Minh Trails. Duke had to translate several times. He probably said, she doesn't believe in the Ho Chi Minh Trails. She thinks Song Mai is an illusion or a delusion. I explained, I've always heard that there was no such thing as the Ho Chi Minh Trail. It was something our government made up, the route by which the North was attacking the South, so that we'd have an excuse to bomb farther north. Everybody said, Ho Chi Minh Trail? No such thing. It's the other side's propaganda, a figment that the other side made up. Sometimes even the government claimed it didn't exist. They wanted to deny that we had planes that far past the DMZ. What Ho Chi Minh Trail? We aren't bombing the Ho Chi Minh Trail. There isn't one. And the left denied the existence of the Song Mai. I never heard those words before. And now I hear Route 15, Route 20. It even has route numbers to show that there was no justification for the bombing. Earl's my husband. Earl was the only one who remembered with me that America had believed that the Ho Chi Minh Trail did not exist. Noam Chomsky on the grass in front of Sproul Hall on Vietnam Day proved semiotically no Ho Chi Minh Trail.